As a designer, I understand that you're not going to be just setting type straight across or straight up and down. Many times we have to flow text around objects, and we have to do it in a way that looks good to our eyes as well as our clients. In this movie, I'm going to show you how to flow text around a path, in this case, a circle. It's a pretty easy process, but you do have to know some of the subtle things about it in order to make it look just right. First things first, let's grab the text tool. Once I do that, if I click, I can just start to type out text. No big deal. It's just a straightforward text object. I can try to make this look like it goes around the circle by rotating it. I could even go into the effects menu and sort of arch it in certain ways. But what I really want to do is I want it to be editable, and I want it to flow naturally around the outline of this circle. And so in order to do that, maybe I can grab the text tool and just come over here and click. After all, when I move my mouse over here, it shows me a circle. So that means that when I click, I'm automatically going to be typing around the circle, or at least you would think so. When I do click, however, if I start to type, then it just kind of fills up that circle. That's because the text tool changes into the area type tool when you bring it over onto a vector shape. What you're actually looking for is something called the type on a path tool. So let's do Control or Command Z until we get back to our original state. And let's click and hold on the type tool and choose Type on a Path. Once you do that, you should see the little I-beam with a small squiggly path going through it. And in order to make this flow across the path, just click anywhere on the path. And once you do that, it starts to blink, and then you can start typing out Rue Academy of Art and Design. It's not perfect by any means, but it's getting there. And so now I can select my selection tool. And when I select my selection tool, you'll notice that I have several different lines that appear out here on this. This one here, when I hover over it, see that little arrow that pops up? The little arrow points to the right. That indicates that if I click and drag, it'll do something. So this actually changes the flow of the text. So if I wanted the text to start on the opposite side, I just rotate around until I get the Rue right there in the middle. But now I don't have the rest of the text. So what do I do now? That's where the end point, the one that points to the left, comes in handy. Take this, click, and drag, and it will reveal your text once again. So I'll just drag this all the way over, give me the full width of the circle to deal with, and there we go. Now, once I have this, I can do whatever I want to this text. I can change the font, the size, whatever I need to do to make this text flow around this circle nice and neat. So in this case, what I'm going to do is increase the size 1 point. I'm going to then go to the window menu, go down to type, and I'm going to choose character. That way I can make some serious adjustments. And I am going to change it to a bold font, something like that. And then I'm going to also change the tracking. So something like 75. And that flows it a little bit closer, but not exactly what I need. So maybe we want to go 100. Maybe one more. Let's go 200. There we go. It's a little bit better. And then maybe we increase the size, something like that. Now, again, we can adjust the starting and end points of this, but really and truly, I just need to adjust the spacing and things in between all these. So maybe we want to do a bigger font. There we go. That actually looks better. But I'm actually leaving a big gap in between here. So how do I make this fit tighter around the circle without actually just resizing the text? I want the text to be the same size. I just don't want it to be so far away. That's where baseline shift comes in handy. Remember earlier when we were talking about the character panel, I explained that baseline shift was very important when it comes to setting type on a path, and it indeed is. When I come here, I can actually start to bring the text closer by adjusting the baseline shift. So something like 7 points works well, I think. And then let's close this up and click away, and there we go. I've got a little bit of a gap here that I would have to deal with, but otherwise it looks pretty good. But you're not always going to be flowing text around a perfect circle either. So how do you handle text on, say, a curved path? Let's take a look at that. I'm going to create a new document, Command or Control N. Size irrelevant here, just hit OK to whatever the default is. Then we're going to grab the pen tool, click and drag up, and then come over here, click and drag up to create a nice curvy line, just like that. Then you're going to grab your Type on a Path tool, and you're going to click somewhere on the line, and you're just going to type something out. So let's just type out, "Hello world, how are you?" And then we're going to select this, and we're going to increase the font size. Notice as I do this, it flows right along that path. And even as the path turns upward, so does my text. Now I can grab my selection tool and I can adjust the starting and end points. So I can take this, for instance, and extend it all the way to the end of the path. I can take this one and extend it all the way to the beginning of the path. And that way, when I increase my size, it actually goes until it reaches all the way to the end. To get this text to actually look worth anything, what I would have to do is probably change some of the character rotations, maybe even edit the path a little bit, but for the most part, it flows around quite nicely. Now, what if I wanted it to flow underneath the path? That's where this middle handle comes in handy. When I hover over it, see how it points upward, indicating you're changing the vertical orientation of the type. If I do this and click and drag down, see how it goes underneath? Click and drag up, goes back up. So now I can let go of that, and then we could say rotate the text around, and it's completely reversed. As you can see, there are literally endless possibilities when it comes to flowing text along a path, whether it's a perfect circle, a square, or just a squirrely little line that you drew out yourself with the pen tool. Flowing text along a path is a great way to show movement and simulate different effects in your designs and add texture and depth to whatever your project is. So I recommend taking some time to play with this, understanding all those little handles and controls that I pointed out to you, and really tweaking it to get it to look the very best you can.